Today's assignment, photograph the elusive Pokemon. How do you do it? You're gonna be fast. Ah!
20 years ago, when Pokémon Snap was released for the Nintendo 64, my wildest dreams had been answered. A Pokémon game that wasn't a Pokémon game in the traditional sense really tickled my pickle. We had the TCG, the TV series, the movies, a huge amount of toys, plushies, collectibles, and many more Pokémon injected items, like spaghetti. But now we could take pictures of Pokémon in their natural habitat. There was no battling, no youngsters leaping out of the grass in short shorts, no risk of ugly crying over my Game Boy because I just could not grasp the concept that I had more Pokémon available to me than the Squirtle that Professor Oak gave me at the start of the game. Yeah. Basically, this was meant to be some good old chilled out fun that even I could manage as a snot-nosed kid. Pokémon Snap was an on-rail shooter. If I stop right here, this sounds like the most incredibly violent Pokemon game ever. I love it. However, when I say on-rail shooter, it's less flying bullets and more taking pictures of Pidgey's ass. Ooh yeah, baby. I'm completely convinced that the only reason we are forced to sit in this little minecart thing is because the protagonist of this game clearly has some motor skill issues. Maybe I've forgotten just how god-awful the Nintendo 64 controller is to use, but I swear to God, this guy with his fancy-ass DSLR doesn't even know how to use his arms. We are probably in this stupid cart in the first place to stop this silly prick from wandering off the side of a bloody cliff. Now, I'm no expert when it comes to photography, and apparently neither is Professor Oak. The scoring system for the photos you take on your adventures are set into 3 categories: the Pokemon's pose, size, and centering of the photograph. So remember, when you snap a picture of Pidgey's back end, you best hope that Pidgey has some junk in the trunk, Kim Kardashian style. It also needs to be centered like your mum's favourite school photo day picture of you, and it needs to be a good pose, so throw up those peace signs. Well, actually the sad reality is that the Pokemon have to be facing the camera and that's about it. But hey, Pidgey butts. Needless to say, the scoring system could be improved on, but honestly, any words of encouragement from Professor Oak are a-okay in my book, so I'll let it slide. Now, you've learned how to take the best possible Pokesnaps. How do they look? Yeah, the poorly aged Nintendo 64 visuals really make this picture the best that it really can be, huh? But how would it hold up in current days? Well, as it looks, not too great actually, but there is potential there. Since the game's release, we've had about a zillion new Pokemon added to the Pokedex. Unless you count Dexit in Sword and Shield, am I right? Boycott Game Freak! Haha! Okay, I get it, there's no use being a dead Ponyta. I'm pretty sure that joke's over and done with now. I'm sorry. But I digress. Look at this fan-made recreation of the game. It's beautiful, and this was just a fan-made recreation. Imagine what a company could do with all of the money that the Pokemon company has to offer. I can just imagine it now, this game on the Switch with those beautiful Breath of the Wild-esque visuals. Oh, so beautiful. Just please get rid of the on-rail part. Please, let me explore. Honestly, if you ask me, which you haven't, but you're watching my video anyway, so for all intents and purposes, I'm going to imagine that you did. I think Pokémon Snap would do just quite fine on a current day console. That and I just want to use my Joy-Cons to take lewd pictures of Pokemon. There, I said it. Sure, the levels are repetitive, the Pokemon few in unique quantities, and the overall difficulty of the game was mostly tied into whether or not you could wrangle the wild controls of the N64's brilliantly designed controller. Depending on your luck, you may or may not get the chance to snap a third of a Meowth that's probably fused with the terrain. But all of this said, something has to explain why the game was so darn replayable. Well, nostalgia probably is a large part of it these days, but what about 20 years ago? Once you look past the awful controls of the game, at its most basic level, the game's entire premise was to take pictures of Pokemon, and not much else. It doesn't sound like the most wildly interesting thing, but Pokemon sells, that's a fact. But does it age? Well, Pokemon as a franchise, I think that's always going to be current, but as for Pokemon Snap, it's gone so far past aging that it's practically withered in a dusty old corner with no hopes of rejuvenation. Back then, the game could have been improved in many ways, but I'm guessing a lot of these things would have been held back by the limitations of the console itself. Pokemon Snap as a free-to-explore at your own pace game in current days, oh boy, it really wets my whistle. Imagine it, multiple regions, no more ridiculous minecart, caves to find and explore, underwater nooks and crannies to dive into, cameras are waterproof, right? Raging volcanoes, icy peaks, vast meadows, the list really could go on quite far. It would be beautiful, no doubt about it, and I'm sure with a few added features it could thrive quite well on the Switch. Especially if there was more to the game than just snapping pictures of the same old mons over and over. Fun is basically what this boils down to, and for all the complaints I have for the game, it was never short in fun, even if that was almost always accompanied by frustration of being just a fraction too late to physically fight my Nintendo 64 controller into position to snap that voluptuous Snorlax on his back. Spread eagle, baby. Maybe I was just easily pleased as a child, maybe I still am. I definitely am. Perhaps this is just nostalgia talking, but I wholeheartedly would very much like to play a sequel. At this point, with how the Pokemon franchise has grown since the original 151 critters to collect, I don't think a simple HD remake of this game would do it justice. What I think we all need is a sequel, something that feels more substantial than what was originally offered. Toss in more Pokemon, give us more freedom, perhaps even a more advanced scoring system. I don't know guys, for how simple and yet fun the game was despite all of its shortcomings, with a few tweaks and additions here and there, this would be amazing. At this point in time, you could slap a tin of cold soup down in front of me, tell me it was Pokemon flavoured, pass me a straw, and watch me inhale it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that nostalgia sells, but if there's one thing in the world that sells better than nostalgia, it's Pokemon. Mix the two together and you've got a recipe for good wholehearted family fun. Snapping pictures of Pokemon booty. Oh yes. Look, I'll even give you one of my brilliant ideas for free Nintendo. Labo kits. Labo? Labo? I'm not sure. But regardless, let people use their cardboard cameras. You're welcome. Hire me. Please. In summary, it's Pokemon Day, or at least it will be when this video goes up, and well, I just kind of wanted to talk about something Pokemon that isn't Sword and Shield. Pokemon Snap is a much loved title by me and many others. Even with its faults and poor aging, there's a lot that could be improved on, and honestly, the fact that Nintendo still have not done anything over 20 years really is such a missed opportunity. Though they are remaking Mystery Dungeons, so I'll give them that I guess. Thanks very much for stopping by to listen to me ramble about these sorts of things. I like to think of these videos as my way of productively channeling my many busy thoughts into verbal vomit for your pleasure. I probably could have made that sound more appealing. Either way, whether you love Pokemon Snap, hated it, or would very much enjoy a sequel, let me know what you thought of the game, and whilst you're still here, thanks very much for your support. Please consider liking the video, it helps my wee channel more than you know. If my content tickles your pickle, please consider subscribing. You can also follow me over on Twitter if that's your thing. Thanks again, ladies and gents, and I shall see you next time. Bye!